Roy Dempsey, Ward 1. I know this has been discussed last couple of years now, but what is the final usage that we expect out of this building? What are the tenants of this building? Are they going to be city departments or?
I can't speak to what the intent is for the use of the building. What we do know is under the former Mayor Avedisian, what the building is being utilized for right now. And keep in mind, this isn't about the tenancy of the building. It has nothing to do with that. This is about the economics and about the financial cost to the taxpayers on the building. And what Councilman McAllister has alluded to is we are not going to continue throwing money into a building when we have no idea how much money we've thrown into it, where it's going to go, where it's going to end, and who's supposed to continue paying for these expenses going forward. So to speak to the intent of the building, the future intent of the building, I have no clue. I have no clue. You know, that's not for this committee to speak to or decide, but I'm sure time will tell.
New annex site?
Any other comments, Mr. Dempsey? No. Thank you, sir.
There's a couple $100,000 for what I understand the insurance.
We'll wait on the numbers. All right. Any other comments from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
So I'll make a motion to hold. I'd like to get a full accounting from this building, the expenses to date, and I know this is going to have to go back. This was before the current DPW director was there, so and before Mayor Solomon took over, so I understand it's going to take a little time. So I'd like to hold until the first meeting until November.
What's our next PCR?
PCR 14718.
14718.
First date in November would be November 14th.
November 14th. Councilman, could you repeat that motion, please?
Sure. I'll make a motion looking for a full accounting of, to date, the expenses going into this Cooper building, and so I'll make the motion to put that before us for the November 14th meeting, which is the first meeting in November.
Okay, and just for clarification, what you're saying is you are expecting to receive this full accounting on the November 14th meeting?
Yes.
Okay, not to come before this meeting and say, I don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah, I'm hoping within the 30-plus days we'll be able to get a full accounting. Again, we understand that most of these expenses were done in the previous administration, so that's why I want to give them the time, because we really need to have a full understanding of the investment we're making.
I agree.
So I'd make that a motion.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Christie. 2018-133, found on page 12, street pole and light maintenance.
Department's requesting to increase the award for the expenses related to the lights at Mickey Stevens Sports Complex. There was an extensive repair out there. The lights were unsafe. They weren't working properly. We're requesting $11,923.75. This bid does not expire until October 24th, 2018. And just as a note, this was a decision that was made by the previous director for repair that came to light.
So, Christie, these, I'm reading here that the department utilizes those funds for insurance accidents, et cetera, and it says there was a serious safety issue at the Mickey Stevens Sports Complex during the spring-summer baseball season, making it a dangerous situation for the youth that were utilizing the fields. Which spring-summer baseball season were we talking about?
This past year.
This current one?
Yes.
Okay. And these repairs have already been made?
Yes. They were completed last fiscal year.
They were made in the last fiscal year?
Yes.
So when were they made in the last fiscal year?
Approximately on May 12th, one of the fuse boxes during a PAL baseball game started sparking and smoking. They called the fire department. They shut the power down.
Approximately May 12th, you don't have the definitive day?
On May 12th,
May 12th, okay. And how much was this expenditure?
this whole job was the $11,923.75.
I don't recall that coming before the council.
It didn't.
It didn't. So how was it done?
That was a decision that was made by the previous director.
So the previous director made a decision to spend $11,923 of taxpayer money without any formal approval from the city council,
Well,
or any approval from the city council.
the department has a bid. This is a bid that we have in our department to get repairs done on, whether they're lights for the fields, traffic lights, that kind of thing. When I didn't know anything about this until the bill hit my desk, so
Sure.
I can only assume that when there was an issue out there, he instructed for it to be repaired. At that point, I'm sure he had no idea how much it was going to cost, assuming, you know, I don't think it was expected to be $12,000, but...
And Christie, I understand that you weren't aware of it before, and you just recently were made aware of it. This finance committee wasn't aware of it before either, and we were just made aware of it when we got the books. But I guess where we come back to is, where did this authority come from to spend $11,923? Did this go out for bid?
This would be covered under a bid that we have in place, yes. The
But-
dollar amount is the issue.
Well, it's not just the dollar amount that's the issue. The issue to me is that this was a no-bid award.
It's not a no-bid award.
no bid
We
award.
have a bid in place to make these kinds of repairs. It's bid 2018-133. It expires
So-
October 24th, 2018.
How about, so we award these bid amounts all the time, and before you can go out, we award X amount of dollars and cents for a lot of different things. And when you are ready to start expending that monies, you typically will go out to bid for a vendor. And in this case, I'm assuming that this just never went out to bid for a vendor. We simply picked up, not you, but someone simply picked up the phone and said, we have some lights out at Mickey Stevens, go fix them and send us the bill. And you just said earlier that it was a lot more expensive than what we anticipated. So that's how I'm
I'm
looking at.
assuming, but this vendor was called because he has the bid to make those repairs.
Okay. Okay. And in this same bid, this 2018-133, it's in our package, so we're going to talk about it a little bit. It said the above award by the City Council and capped at $15,000. This bid expires October 24th. The department is requesting an increase of the amount of the awarded amount due to the replacement of a decorative light in Connecticut. Now, we all remember when we had that conversation about that light and the cost, etc. The trust has already reimbursed the city in excess of $11,000 for the light repair. So where did that $11,000 go that we were reimbursed?
It goes into an insurance code.
Goes into what?
An insurance code,
An insurance code? What's the insurance code?
76357.
76357?
Yes.
Okay. It also says this department, well, let me back up. It has also come to the attention that this department, a decorative light pole, was involved in an accident in Patuxent Village recently, and that will be needed to be replaced. This department is seeking reimbursement from the involved party's insurance agency. Has the city received reimbursement from that?
Not yet to my knowledge.
Who is following up on that?
That's between Joe Blake and Finance Department and myself. We have not yet received any funds for that. The light hasn't been purchased. We're not able to do anything until, I mean, we could, we'd have to ask permission, I'm sure. I'm not even sure how much the light is. But again, even if I had the insurance money, I would still have to come back and ask to increase the cap to make the repair, regardless of where the money comes from.
I'm concerned about anything that involves an insurance company. I'm always concerned. And how long ago was this accident took place? Do you remember?
I'm unsure of that.
I think it was several months ago, though.
I'm not sure.
And here we are now. We still haven't been reimbursed from the insurance company. I understand we haven't replaced it, but we haven't been reimbursed. Christy, could either yourself or finance or whoever reach out to this insurance company and let us know when we can expect to be reimbursed for this particular thing, and include all members of the finance committee on that?
I will certainly see what I can do to get that answer.
Okay, if you're not able to get that answer, let us know about that as well, if you're not able to get that answer. How much did we actually spend in Connecticut on those lights?
$11,910.
Okay. Now, Christy, when you say the previous director, since I've been here, we've had 2 previous directors. Which previous director sent out the request for spending $11,923?
That would be the last director we had prior to Matt Slitro taking over.
Okay. So you're looking to increase this by $11,923, is that correct?
And 75 cents, yes.
And 75 cents. Any questions from members of the committee? Councilman McAllister.
Christie, one of the expenses for construction rental, $3,862. What does that consist of? What was the actual work that was done?
That was for the bucket truck that they had to get to reach the lights at the complex.
Okay, so they had it for a couple of days?
Yeah, the lights on the pole.
Okay, all right.
Christy, that was to rent a bucket truck?
Yes.
For 2 days?
Yes.
How high a lift?
Matthew Slitro, Department of Public Works. They're probably about 75 to 80 feet up in the air, and we cannot use our bucket truck just because it's a 2-man aerial lift going up. And I want to say it was more along the lines of an entire week to repair these, and that's reflective in the man hours that you see before you.
So you're saying that this rental fee of $38.62 is for 1 week?
1 week, correct.
Okay. When it says there was a serious safety issue, there's nothing in our packet here that tells us what this serious safety issue was. What was that serious safety issue that had to be done immediately?
As I stated a few minutes ago, excuse me, one of the fuse boxes at the bottom of one of the poles began sparking and smoking. They called the fire department. The fire department was on site when the supervisor showed up, and the power had been shut down, but they couldn't power it back up until it was fixed. So we have no power, we have a potential fire hazard, and we have youth that can't use the fields, or even if they could use half-lights, it's not safe for them. I got everything secondhand and well after the fact, so I can only tell you what I was told.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the committee? Yes, Councilman Howard.
Matt, if you don't mind, I want to just kind of build on the question. Construction rental of 1 week, was that one traditional week, like 5 business days, or 1 week, 7 days?
Again, I'm kind of playing catch up with this, but I believe it was 1 5-day period.
Okay.
They needed it to reach the, the top of the lights and everything.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
okay.
Councilman Howard, I have rented these machines myself in the past, and they're like wildly expensive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are. Any other questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-135 refrigerant for Thayer Arena, found on page 18.
Department's requesting to purchase, where was I? 900 pounds of the RS-45 for Thayer Arena system. What had happened was the back rink was low when they went to start it up in April. They took the refrigerant from the front and put it in the back so that system could be started. Now we've got the front up and running, but it is low on refrigerant, so we need to replace it. So we are requesting $8,323.88 for 38 24-pound cylinders, including shipping.
Any questions from members of the committee? Councilman McAllister.
Didn't we already approve for this just a couple of months ago?
Correct. That was for the back rink to bring it back up to speed. This is for an additional amount of gas for the front rink so that we could get it operational.
Well, if we knew we were going to have to do back and front, how come we didn't just bundle it all together?
Well, basically, the long and short of it is the person that's managing the rink miscalculated the amount of gas.
Matt, can you speak a little louder into the mic? We can't hear you here.
Okay. The person running the rink miscalculated the amount of gas that would be needed to get the front rink up to speed.
Oh, okay. So this was user error from the person who runs the rink that cost us this additional money here. Okay, so it wasn't a system breakdown or anything like that. It was just...
No, what had happened is they took the gas from the front rink, and after we had the leak in the back rink, then they made the back rink operational because that runs all summer long. So now it comes to this time of year, we're starting the rink up. They purchased a certain amount of gas, which you guys had approved, but we were short by the $88,000 worth of gas to get it up and maintain it.
Yeah, and this is a revenue-generating facility for the city, correct?
Correct.
I mean, it's very important. We want to keep this up and,
we have
and
hockey
running.
teams, figure skating, all kinds of stuff going on in those rinks, so it is quite a revenue generator.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to stay on top of that if we don't have the right person in place there. I mean, I think we should look at it. I mean, that's off by $8,000 plus, and putting, additional revenue to the city in effect.
Correct. We're operational as of today. We're still operating.
I'm sorry?
We're operating as of today.
Yep.
We've been adding more oil, and it's a combination of things just to keep it running. So we didn't lose any revenue, per se.
So, Matt, what I'm hearing is that we had a leak in the back rink, correct?
Correct.
That we had to spend $9,061 on, which was a 3-3.
Correct.
To get that rink so we didn't lose 20 grand a month or whatever it is in the revenue.
Correct.
And at that time, the people who are running this rink knew that they took the Freon, whatever it is, from the front rink to fill the back rink, correct?
Correct.
So now I feel like I got hoodwinked because that department came before the city council and they said, we need $9,061. We got this major failure. We got this leak. If you guys don't give us the dough, we're going to lose 20,000, whatever it is, a week in revenue, and it's going to be your fault. But not once did anyone say to us, by the way, we borrowed Peter to pay Paul, and we took the Freon out of the back rink or the front rink to fill the back rink, and we're going to come back to you in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days and ask you for another $8,323.
Correct.
Isn't that what happened?
That is what happened.
Exactly. And we got hoodwinked. This is like amazing to me. This is a culture that has continued to develop over the previous administration. This has been going on for years under this previous administration. And here we are. So, you know what, let's fix this. They don't know any better. We're going to come back here in 3 months or 6 months, and we're just going to tell them we're going to have another $8,300 because if we don't get it, it's your fault, and we're going to lose revenue, and it's going to be your fault. It's not our fault. It's the culture's fault. And thank God that we have a change in that corner office. We have a change in this city council, and with that change in the corner office, with changes in department heads such as you, Matt, I am very confident that this culture is going to continue turning around.
Thank you.
But these things are very, very upsetting. And to learn that we were hoodwinked again is even more upsetting. So let me ask you this. To your knowledge, or to Christie's knowledge, is there any other surprises, any other Freon losses, melt ice, this, that, or the other, that is going to come before the city council because nobody wanted to tell us now because they're afraid we're going to yell?
To my knowledge, there is nothing that will come before you as far as a Freon. I can't say that a compressor won't go. I can't say that we won't have something else. But anything that was scheduled, the rink will be up and running as it should be. If we have a catastrophe, we'll have to come back to you. But those are unforeseen conditions, and I know you guys have to, bear with me on that.
I understand.
Okay, but as far as asking for more Freon, absolutely not.
So nobody's going to come back to us in 3 months from now and say, oh, by the way, we had to borrow the Freon from the back rink to fill the front rink, and now we need another $9,061 for the back rink.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So there is a allowable amount of exfiltration in the system that weeps out. That's with any closed system that you have. And to my knowledge, in talking to the experts, this should cover it completely.
But the system doesn't hoodwink us.
The system does not.
The people controlling the system hoodwink us. Chris, did you agree with that? There's nothing else that would be of any surprise that you're aware of? I know you're kind of like in the trenches every day with this.
Not that I'm aware
Okay.
of.
All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Well, we have no choice, fellas.
Yeah, this is a revenue generating
You gotta
thing
do
for the
it.
city. Yep, so I'll move for favorable action.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion for favor. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you for your candor, and thank you for your upfrontness on this. 2019-136, recruit psychological evaluations.
Good evening, Major Rick Rathman for the Police Department.
Good evening, Major.
Police Department's requesting spending authorization for psychological testing services for police applicants pursuant to 56.6. The University of Rhode Island Office of Strategic Initiative is the sole source testing service for psychological testing of public safety applicants across the state. All police applicants, including those hired by Warwick, are required by Rhode Island general law to undergo psychological exams prior to admission to the Rhode Island Municipal Police Academy. The exams are conducted at a cost of $600 per applicant and include a multi-stage process by the ORI psychology team. If approved, the funding not to exceed $77,200 would come from Budget Code 30-335 medical examinations. The contract will be for a period of 1 year commencing at the date of authorization. I just want to note this would include 2 fiscal years, this current budget cycle as well as next year, sir.
Thank you, Major. So I want to make a clarification on this bid because we've had other departments that have come before us for required medical exams on current employees. And there is a big difference between a current employee and someone who may become an employee. So this recruit psychological exam is done prior to this individual becoming a police officer or becoming an employee of the city.
Correct.
Correct.
The status would be conditional offer of employment.
Correct.
Pending this among the other process to become an employee.
But the point here is that it is not an employee. And if you are not an employee, you are not covered under our health care coverage for the city of Warwick. So that's the difference. I just wanted to make that clarification. It's 2 different issues here. So what they're looking for is something that is required by state law. It's something that they have to do before this person becomes an employee, so they have to pay for it. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Major. 2019-139, found on page 22, Code Red Notification System.
In my capacity as the city's EMA director, I'm requesting spending authorization to renew the annual service contract for the Code Red Reverse 911 phone system. This is provided by the vendor OnSolve Intermediate Holding Company under the provisions of 56.6. The Code Red system is utilized throughout the state of Rhode Island under the management of the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency, or REMA. The system has been used in this city successfully since 2014 and has proven to be invaluable for timely notifications to citizens during emergency incidents and/or weather events. REMA has entered into an agreement with the sole source vendor being OnSolve to provide Code Red emergency notification systems to all the cities and towns. As part of the process, REMA is invoiced for half the total cost of the service to the cities and towns independently from the municipalities. The annual cost of the system to the city of Warwick is $9,500 to be paid by the city should this request be approved. If approved, the funding of $9,500 would come from Budget Code 34-354 Emergency Management. The new contract period will be from October 3rd of this year through October 2nd of next year.
Major, I realize that you're new in your position as presenting these bids to us, and apparently you're new as the EMA director as well. So I see where this current contract expires on 10/2.
That's correct.
So how is it that it's just coming before us now?
So upon assuming duties as the EMA director August 25th, I was given this information from the fire chief. I took a process of over a week to try to get in touch with OnSolve for invoicing to confirm the information. They were finally able to reply to me the Tuesday after Labor Day, which was the deadline for this meeting. Upon receipt of the invoice, the information was submitted for the docket this evening.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Sir.
Just a quick one, and congrats on the new EMA position.
Thank you.
I see they're still sending the bills to Chief Armstrong, so I think that was a while ago, so we might...
Just to clarify, so that week of the 25th, in addition to working with the sales side of the house on OnSolve, I spent 4 hours of webinar training, as well as the following week at REMA for training certifications. All of the accounts have been switched to me in my capacity as the EMA side of the house now, so that should be clarified. So in addition to having the billing situation invoice solved, the system's operational. I'm fully trained along with Deputy Chief EMS from the fire side, Umbenhauer, so we have the capability immediately to use the system.
Great. Well, I appreciate it, and I know as EMA director, you'll make sure there's no snowstorms this winter, so I appreciate that as well.
Yes, sir.
That's a good point, Councilman. I'm surprised that, this wasn't picked up before. Chief Armstrong hasn't been here in, what, over a year?
Well over a year.
Well over a year.
Well at it, where he was.
Councilman Howell, did you have any questions?
No, Councilman McAllister took care of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from members of the committee, members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-140, found on page 43. Matt, go ahead.
You have any questions?
Sorry?
You have any questions?
Go ahead, Councilman Howe.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read this, and I'm going to ask for verbal clarification, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
To the best of my ability, I'll have Christie back me up, so.
So if you could explain.
Okay. So basically what happened is we had a bid. It was my understanding with Dennis K. Burke. We went out to bid. We kept using Dennis Burke for the diff fluid, okay, which is in all the current vehicles that have diesel emissions on it. And the bid had expired, we awarded it, and someone in automotive kept using them for the diff fluid, not realizing that the bid had expired, to the best of my knowledge.
Oh, okay. So this company, or this Dennis Burke,
yes.
the bid expired, so we had them for a bid for a certain dated time.
We had them for quite a while. The bid
Yep.
expired, and then they just kept delivering, and someone didn't realize that the bid had expired. So they kept delivering diff fluid to the amount of...
Okay, so how long was it expired for? When did it finally lapse? It looked, oh, I have it right here. 2018 dash, and it expires, is it October 25th this year?
Hold on one second. October 25th.
So anything that was purchased, if you don't mind me asking, well, and again, I welcome anyone else to answer, what's the process of, if DPW needs it to purchase, like what's the process it goes through before a check is actually cut to the vendor?
As far as, well, I mean, we come before you guys, we do a bid award for a certain amount. I believe that Christie has a cap on all the oils.
Yep.
And so they'll come and they'll say, I expended $10,000, we need to come back, raise the cap. And that's what happened. Similar to the last meeting, you guys awarded all the oil except for the transmission fluid. It's that basic same process that goes through. We examine the bids and then go from there.
So as I read this, I couldn't understand. It says October 25th, 2018. So explain, so it doesn't, I'm not connecting to where you said it expired. But we're still in.
Right.
Basically, what happened is that the bid previous to, we were buying this from Dennis K. Burke. Then the bid expired that October.
And you got a new?
We were supposed to be purchasing it from, I think it's Industrial Oil. We were supposed to be purchasing it from a different vendor, but there was some sort, I'm not really sure what happened, but the automotive division, Burke had us on automatic delivery. They have a 350-gallon tank that they pump the DF from, so they never switched over for whatever reason to the correct vendor. So we've essentially been purchasing it from the wrong vendor, so now we need to make it right, pay their bills. We have since ceased that since this came to our attention, and now we're getting it from the right vendor.
What about the right vendor when we were getting the deliveries from the old vendor, and was the new vendor still coming to the city, and
No,
because it wasn't requested?
no, correct.
So I'm trying to figure out, so we can be avoided, and again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the time. How do we avoid something like this happening? Like, I understand it's been a long, you know, the same vendor for a while, but I'm trying to figure out like the levels of procedure. Like when eventually, when did it get caught? Like from when we went from the old vendor to the new vendor, and the expenditures that were done, as I see, 1, 2, 3, 4, am I right, 4?
More than that.
More than that?
It was actually purchasing. Purchasing was the one that brought it to my attention that it was the wrong vendor. So, I mean, that's where it stopped. And
I
then
see.
when they brought it to my attention, I told the automotive division, don't buy any more from them. This is a vendor you're supposed to be using.
Yep.
And that's basically what
And
happened.
this vendor was, I know we used Dennisburg for a long time, but they were eventually they were outbid, is that what it was? So the other vendor provided the services for more cost effective?
Yes, we get bulk delivery for the DEF, so they bid by the gallon. So like it's, you know, $1, you know, 35 a gallon or $1, whatever they bid. So yes, Burke was outbid probably by pennies by this other company, but it was an error in our department that purchasing caught. So we're here now to try and
I see.
make it right.
Okay, so as you said, we're all caught up now, like everything's good? All right. So I read this, it was a little difficult, but thank you for the explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. So, how long were we paying the wrong vendor? Specifically, what period of time?
We were paying the wrong vendor for from January to August.
January 2018
Correct.
to when?
August.
To August of 2018. So we have a need for this diesel exhaust fuel.
Correct.
We're low, we need to place an order. Who initiates the purchase?
The highway chief, automotive chief.
The highway chief initiates the purchase.
Correct.
Cuts a purchase order or picks up the phone or whatever.
The automotive chief, sorry.
Automotive chief, okay. And says, hey, we need whatever, gallons or whatever quantities.
Correct.
Okay. And this was continuing from January 2018 through August of 2018.
Correct.
So I'm going back to the culture again, Matt, okay? This takes us back to the culture of, once again, the previous administration, because what I see happening here is I see three events that took place. We have someone, in this case, your department, initiates an order. From there, I believe it goes to purchasing. From purchasing, it goes to finance to be paid. So what we have is we have this process that goes on for 8 months. We're using the wrong vendor. We're paying more money. And you can say it's insignificant. Tell that to the taxpayer who's having a hard time putting food on the table. And I'm not saying you, I'm speaking in generalities.
Correct.
And for 8 months, we're buying product from the wrong vendor. The invoice is being stamped, and it's been sent over to finance, and it's being paid. It's not being paid? So, fine. Patricia, you take the mic. You want to speak to it? So you tell me how all of this happens.
That is correct. That is the procedure. But what was happening in this case is the invoice was not being paid because it wasn't the proper
When was the first invoice we received? Because this package says that, please note that some of the invoices are included in this package. Well, we're going to be looking for all of the invoices, not some of the invoices. It says the remainder of the invoices have been verified by this department that they are still outstanding for the purchase of the materials. We want to see all the invoices. But when was the first invoice received from this vendor we had been using from January to August?
The first invoice, according to this, would be January.
The first invoice was January. Keep the mic, Pat. So are you saying that the city of Warwick received an invoice in January from a vendor that as of this day, 9 months later, we still haven't paid?
That is correct. I don't have a vehicle to pay it.
As what, please?
I don't have a vehicle to pay it because I don't have a proper purchase order to match up with it.
So why wasn't this questioned in January? If we're holding an invoice from January to now, why wasn't this questioned in January?
I don't know if it was actually January because I don't know when the invoices came in, but
Matt,
it was
you just
quite some while
testified
ago.
January, right?
If the information that I have in front of me, it's invoice number 0749143.
Invoice number what?
0749143.
And what's the date on that invoice?
1/10/2018.
1/10/2018. So that says to me that the city received an invoice on January 14th and didn't pay it, and we received additional invoices since then through August 2018 that we didn't pay, and we just kind of like put on the side and say, we don't have an authorization to pay them, so we're not going to pay them.
What would happen is if we received an invoice in January and we didn't have a purchase order number on that invoice, we would send that invoice to the department asking for the proper documentation to match it up so we could make payment on it.
So, okay, let's assume that happened on this first invoice, 074143. You sent it to the department, in this case being DPW, and said, hey, listen, kids, we get a bill here for X dollars and cents, and we don't have an invoice to match it. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So what invoice? You got a bill from the vendor, that is the invoice. What invoice don't you have?
No, I don't have something to offset the invoice. I don't have a purchase order to match it up, to pay it.
From DPW?
Correct.
So is that to suggest that DPW is ordering this product without invoices? Because if you don't have one, who does?
When we get invoices, they should have a purchase order number on the invoice. Okay?
But you said you don't.
If the invoice had no purchase order number, we would send it to the department so they could actually provide us with a purchase order number that it needs to be paid off of.
But you don't have that.
I don't have that. We would have sent the invoice back to the department. They should then in turn send it to us with the proper purchase order number where they encumbered that money.
I get it. I get it. So that would have happened on the first invoice. When was the second invoice? While he's looking up that, what is a PIN number? Excuse me, hold on. What's a PIN? On this invoice from Fleet Line, it says PIN number 2402511. What's that?
A PIN number?
The invoice that I'm looking at here in this book, which is from May 10th, it has the bid number on it, 2018-105. So the correct bid number is there. I don't know what a PIN number means from this vendor. It could be their own way of identifying this. But how is it that this vendor, who is not the approved vendor, who was not awarded the bid, started delivering diesel exhaust fluid to the city of Warwick on January 10th, started submitting invoices right away? We don't pay them because we don't have whatever we need from DPW to match up to it on January 11th, 12th, whatever it is, and this doesn't raise a red flag with anybody. And we continue on. What was that second invoice?
124-2018.
124-18. These, by the way, these are invoices that we don't have. This is some of the invoices. These are some of the invoices we don't have. So here we are on January 24th, 2018. We got the second invoice, and am I to assume that the second invoice wasn't paid because we didn't have this matching document from them as well?
That is correct.
Okay.
If an invoice comes to us and it doesn't have a vehicle to pay it, which would be a purchase order number, we ask the department to provide us that.
Do you ask that in writing?
Yes.
Okay, so you would have an email trail saying, or to DPW saying, hey, we have this invoice dated January 10th. We don't have any paperwork from you guys, a PO. I'll call it a PO because in my world that's what we call it. And oh, by the way, 2 weeks later we get another one from January 24th, and we don't have an invoice for that either. In your communication to DPW, was that in writing?
Once we receive those invoices, I don't, from looking at these, I guess they were sent to us. Some invoices go directly to the department, some of them come to us. The first correspondence I have is the beginning of May that we requested, and we requested by via the statement. The department, the vendor sent us a statement saying that there was outstanding invoices. And at that point, we researched it and found the invoices had been returned and not paid as of yet because we had no proper purchase order.
It's mind-boggling to me that this type of problem occurs. I mean, we're talking, so now it's May. In May, we questioned them after we received numerous other invoices. It's just mind-boggling to me that nobody gets on the phone and says, hey, something's wrong. We've got 2 invoices here. In 2 weeks, we've got 2 invoices. We don't have anything to match up. It's mind-boggling to me that purchasing doesn't have the document from DPW that says, hey, we ordered this. So I think a couple of things may have been occurring back in January. Again, under the previous administration. One or two things are occurring. Those documents that Patricia was saying she never received, so they couldn't authorize the bill to be paid, was never done. Or it was done and they don't have it. Or someone's just picking up the phone to this company right here, Dennis Burke, and saying, hey, deliver us 50 gallons of whatever, with no documentation to it at all. Because what you're saying is you have no backup for the invoice. Somebody sent you a bill and said, hey, pay this bill, but you don't have anything to say that our department ordered that product. So there is no matchup. But yet, we go down the road 8 months, and here we are coming before the city council saying, come up with $2,700 worth of taxpayer dollars because nobody is watching on or paying attention to what's going on with these type of errors. Any dispute? Sir. Councilman Qualley.
Mr. Chair, I was looking at the bills, and the first one for May 11th there was 136 gallons that were shipped. I'm guessing these show up in 250-gallon drums because the next one, and also on that first one, on May 11th, is the date of it. It says right above the truck number, they picked up 6 empties. So that tells me that there were probably 6 deliveries between sometime and May 11th, and they had 6 empty drums. We look at the next 2 invoices, they are duplicates. Both of them are on 8/17, it's the same exact information. Same invoice number, same amount, and then we have the third invoice. And my rough calculations, this is approximately $800 of the, it's about $678. There's still $2,000 of invoices that we don't have in this package, and what we do have are two duplicates that we have three invoices, four invoices, two of them are duplicates. I'm very confused as to what happened, but the part on the first one that says that there were empties that were picked up probably accounts for why it goes back to January. But I'm just curious if we were purchasing diesel fluid from the correct vendor during the same time we were purchasing them from this company. The paperwork is not very complete, and the statement that says under the purchasing memo that there are, the very last sentence of the first paragraph, the remainder of the invoices have been verified by the department. They are still outstanding for the purchase of the materials. We are waiting copies of said invoices that complete the request to be paid. The information that I have in front of us certainly was not verified very well, so I have some questions concerning all of the purchases that were made. And I don't know why we were given, I understand people make mistakes and may duplicate an invoice, but there's only 3 invoices, and I don't know how many there's going to be in the end.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Matt, to expound a little bit on the Councilman's comments of duplicate invoices. So what we have in our binder is we have 2 invoices. The invoice numbers are the same, the description is the same, the amounts are the same. And I don't know, I need some clarification on this. One invoice has a series of 6 digits stamped to the top of it, and those digits are 082918. The other invoice, stamped September 5th, the other invoice right next to it is got the date on it, September 5th, 2019, but it doesn't have those 6-digit numbers. What are those 6-digit numbers? Matt, Pat, does anyone know what those are?
I believe that 082918, isn't that the date?
Could it possibly be, is that perhaps our account number or something? Because it's also on...
It's a date stamp.
829, okay, 829, okay, that's a date stamp, okay. So so we have one date stamp, 829, the other one September 5th. Why do we have 2 different date stamps? What does it mean?
My assumption is that we received it in purchasing on 8/29 and didn't have a proper PO number, and we sent the invoice to the department to get a proper PO, and they probably date stamped it September 5th.
Do you guys date stamp invoices when the purchasing department sends them to you?
I believe we do.
You do? Okay. So here we are from January 1st to August 29th, and we still don't have these invoices that we need to marry up so we can pay the vendor.
Correct.
But nothing has changed until here we are, September 17th, at the council meeting, and the City Council Finance Committee has got to dig into all this stuff to find out that here we are 9 months down the road, and we're purchasing from the wrong vendor. Nobody's catching it, and nobody's fixing it. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm also, I think Councilman Corley in the conversation, as well as you, Mr. Chairman, bring up a good point. Is it possible that some of these, because I see that this invoice here and this invoice, as you pointed out, are the same. Is it possible that we might be overpaying? Like, so if we're added these 2 statements, which are actually 1, into the total, So therefore, would it be better if we kind of did or actually I think it would be better if we did an inventory or a check of all the invoices to make sure that we have an accurate amount. Because we are going back since January. But with that, I would also like to add on to what the chairman said. It's, now you said something that was actually interesting, if you could clarify this. You said sometimes they go to you, sometimes they go to the department, and invoices go to you, and sometimes they go to the department.
Correct.
But all invoices go through your desk, go through your department?
My accounts payable, what she does is she matches the invoice to the PO. Then she sends the PO to the department for them to authorize payment, that they receive the goods, so on and so forth. So basically, she's saying, I have an invoice here for $100. Here's a PO for $100. Sign off saying it's okay for me to make the payment. They sign it. They return it to us. We put the two together and give it to finance. In these cases, if the invoice comes to us and they don't have a purchase order number, she doesn't know what vehicle to pay it off of.
Yes.
We have vendors that do business with 3 or 4 different departments. We have departments that have 3 or 4 different purchase orders open under the same company, so she can never make an assumption. She then, if she receives an invoice with no purchase order number, sends that to the department asking for the purchase order. To my recollection, what happened on this is when she received it back and when she put it together with the purchase order, it didn't add up. This purchase order was not for this company was not the one for this vehicle, for this type of gas. At that point, she returned it to them saying, this is not the right vendor, and explained the situation.
So the big black hole that Chairman brought up is all the times somewhere the disconnect between leaving your department to the DPW from January to August, and it just kind of compounded.
Correct. We also, many companies send us statements showing us where we stand, and she also goes through those statements. When she received the statement for Dennis K. Burke, there was outstanding invoices. In trying to rectify that, then we notified the department. There are outstanding invoices that we don't have here to pay. We don't have a PO to match them up. These are outstanding. And unfortunately, this particular situation...
It just kind of kept going. Compounding. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so listen, this would not bother me as much as if it happened once or twice in January and purchasing held on to something I got and something I don't have, so let's notify them, and here we are 9 months later and we still don't have the answers. It wouldn't trouble me so much had this been nipped in the bud back then. But it's particularly disturbing as the guardians of the checkbook for the taxpayers that this thing just continued month after month after month after month for 9 months, and this has been just put aside in the file, and well, you guys didn't send a PO, you don't have anything to match up, the vendor hasn't been paid, and here we are 9 months down the road and the bill hasn't been paid. And by the way, that doesn't look very good for the credit standing of the city. And we are not paying the price from the low bidder, we're paying the price from a higher bidder. And that didn't get picked up on either. So we absolutely have some culture changes that I know the corner office is working on. I know the department heads are working on. But I'm going to ask for a motion to hold this because we need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to know, we need to find out where these purchase orders, and if they were, then we're going to need to see them. I got a whole host of questions. Give me a motion to hold. Sir. Okay, hold on 1 second. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Keep in mind, I am holding this.
How do we even know that this product was delivered? Is there a delivery, signed delivery sheet, or someone at the TBW signed for this? Is a person signed for it? Was there PO on the delivery item?
That's a good question, Roy. You just heard me say I had a whole host of questions. I'm not going to keep us here any longer. We've been on this rascal for now for close to half hour, but...
An item to consider?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of questions.
Richard Carenti, Ward 4. Don't you think that the city of Warwick needs to reward departments that underspend and penalize departments that overspend?
Mr. Carenti, let's stick to the issue here. This isn't about reward other departments. No, you're not.
I am.
You are not. Excuse me, Mr. Carenti.
Yes.
Just please stick to the issue at hand.
I am.
Okay.
Please let me finish
so
my
let's
sentence.
not talk about rewarding other departments.
Well, but the same applies here. Don't you feel that they should reward departments that don't give invoices that boggle your mind and penalize departments that give invoices? I'm sorry, don't you think they should reward departments that don't give invoices that boggle your mind and penalize departments that do give invoices that boggle your mind? Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to hold PCR 148-18, formerly 2019-140, till October 1st.
148-18?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Second. And we're holding till October 1st. Okay, we have a motion to hold. We have a second on PCR 148-18. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilor, I have a question. Even though we've voted on this and we approved, I have a follow-up question for two people on the one we just held. Yeah. Okay. Matt, could you come back to the podium, please? And Christy may need to feed into this too. You don't need to bring it down right now. At any time from January to today, did the current vendor that was awarded this bid, did they ever contact the department to find out why they were not receiving any business?
That I can't speak to, Councilman.
Christy? No, they did not. Okay. Patricia, did you get any communication from the awarding vendor?
No, I did not.
Okay. 2019-141, found on page 49. Matt, please.
Okay, this is a repair to a sanitation truck under the bid for Coastal. So it had come to the automotive chief's attention that that bid was strictly for fire trucks and not sanitation vehicles. I believe that the guys that worked on it in the garage couldn't figure it out, so it was moved to Coastal to see if we could diagnose it.
So
we have a bid with Coastal for fire apparatus, but not for sanitation trucks.
So it's sort of similar to what we just got through?
Exactly.
Right? So this is like probably 3 of these that we have now, where we're doing business with companies we're not supposed to be doing business with. So this says that it was solely for fire equipment, which I get, I understand. And it also says, somewhere's in here, that, let me read it. The automotive division sent one of the sanitation vehicles to the above vendor under the assumption that it was covered for repairs, as this vendor is on bid 2018-314. Matt, what process either was in place before you, or what process are you currently implementing now to make sure that we don't assume? And we all know that, including myself, when we assume, most cases you end up getting bit. I've been there, done that.
Correct.
To eliminate these things.
So what we've put in place, I can't speak to anything in the previous administration because I wasn't there in this capacity, but moving forward, what we did is we called everybody into my office, we had a meeting, and it was clearly stated that nothing goes out of this building or gets purchased with a PO. So the PO should, if we put a PO in for $500 and it ends up being $2,000 because of, you know, additional repairs or whatever, at least we have a PO, it's documented, and we take nothing for granted. Because it's uncomfortable for you and it's uncomfortable for me to stand up here and do this. That's the policy that I implemented.
Something else that's disturbing to me with this, Matt, is I think it was at the last meeting, it may have been the meeting before, the fire department came before us, and we had a rather in-depth conversation about how is it that this bid was only for DPW, didn't include fire, and how come, excuse me, fire, you know, wasn't aware of it, et cetera, et cetera. We had a lot of conversation on that. What is disturbing is that nobody picked up the phone and said, by the way, Ed, we got this issue. Because it happened right here on the floor with the fire department. So, anyhow, and it's not to say that that was a bad thing on their part. We had that conversation about how come we didn't realize that this bid was strictly for DPW and they weren't included on that particular bid. Matt, I don't see, maybe one of my colleagues may, but on this invoice for Coastal International Trucks, we have an invoice here of $2,382.27.
Correct.
Can anyone from your department or from purchasing tell me how we ended up with the number for labor of $1,109.25? Because I don't see any breakdown here at all, so I have no idea what we're paying for or what they're charging us for labor. Does either your Department of Purchasing know? Because I don't see it here on the invoice.
So we have 3 items. So it would be the diagnosis, it looks like at the top of the invoice.
Correct.
Okay, and that invoice being 6505. All right. So that would be for $127, and then
Correct.
we have.
How many hours is that for?
What's that?
How many hours is that for?
So it would be $63.50 per hour, it looks like. No. Yeah, it's not broken down by
Okay,
hours.
Matt, I'm not going to tie us up anymore. I'm going to ask for a motion to hold this until we get a breakdown from Coastal International Trucks as to how much they're paying us per hour, and also the comparison with the bid that goes along with this, because in that bid, they would be saying how much per hour, okay? All right. Need a motion to hold.
Motion to hold 2019-141, now PCR 14918 until October 1st.
We have a motion to hold PCR 149-18 until October 1st. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. (2019-133) found on page 53. Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Chief Arnold, Fire Department. Fire Department is requesting 5610 to piggyback the state bid MPA number 138 to Keene Fire and Safety Equipment. This bid would be for extinguisher maintenance and repair. The state of Rhode Island has extended the bid through June 30th, 2021, and the Fire Department is requesting to award this bid for a period of 2 years from the date of the award. Total award not to exceed $2,400. The funds will come out of budget code 35340. Service contracts, there's currently $55,172.35 in that budget code.
Any questions from members of the committee? Sir.
Good evening, Chief. Chief, when was the last time this went out to bid? Do you know?
It didn't go out of it. We piggyback on it. It expired, and they reassigned it at the end of June, so it has lapsed since then.
Okay, so...
That's why I'm asking for 2 years from the date of award.
But it did expire in June, and you're coming September for it. Do you know when the last time the state went out for rebid on this?
I don't. But I know they reassigned it at the end of June, and I'm just coming before you now. I have, just so you know, I had a couple. I'm just about caught up. Next month I should be all caught up and be fully up to date with the bids. But it's been pretty trying. So we're getting there. I don't mean any disrespect by doing it that way. I'm just, you know, it's a process of going out to bid and waiting, reviewing them. And it's taking quite a while.
Yeah, because I didn't see when the on this the piggyback when the last time. It doesn't say the last time that they went out. So I don't know if we've had the same vendor for.
Yeah, we have. We've had the same vendor.
We have?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
What works out well for us is right in Warwick, so we can just swing by with the fire truck every time we use an extinguisher and they swap it out for us.
And how often do we swap those out? They expire, right? Or?
They expire, but usually we use them before then. You know, a car fire or a kitchen fire, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They get damaged too.
Okay.
So, to follow up on Councilman McAllister, the approved PO date by the state was on July 26th. Our contract expired on 6/30. I understand what the chief is saying, that they couldn't sign on to something they didn't have, but they did have it on July 26th. And it's now coming before us on September 17th. Chief, so you said you're not sure when the last time this went out for bid?
For the state itself?
No, for us, for the city.
No, we've always been on this.
Just signed on MPA?
Right.
Okay, so over the last year and 9 months, you've seen many times where we have decided not to necessarily go along with signing on to the MPA, which sometimes it's good, maybe sometimes you need to test the waters. Where this hasn't been signed on in so long, I think Councilman McAllister, you were kind of working up to that. Is this something that you would like to see go out for bid and test the waters?
Yeah, that's why I mean, if it's something that we've never seen, I just as the chairman said, we've done it a couple times, and sometimes the MPA for the state is by far the best, but we have found a couple occasions when we went out to bid, and something that we usually just piggybacked on, that there was significant savings for the city. So that is always going to be a question that I'm going to have. Okay. And is there any, you know, what's the downside of going out for bid from the city?
Nothing. If the bid comes in and it's no better than this, we stay with this. And Chief, to your credit, you guys did that for that Plymouth vent thing you do. Right. You went back out for bid, and we saved some money.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
The only fear I have is because we've had outside vendors before that outside the city, so we'd have to schedule everything, and you know we have use a couple extinguishers on a Friday night, and they're not going to be back till the weekend. We don't want to pay weekend or holiday rates for them to come drop off extinguishers, or sometimes they'd stockpile them there. This system works very well for us, and being a small bid, I know every dollar counts, but it's really convenient for us to use a city vendor.
No, and I like the fact of having a city vendor as well, but it doesn't hurt to go out.
It's not to say that the city vendor might not come in with a better bid. Yeah. And you can write the specs, Chief, and I would, I'd support you completely. You write a tight spec. This is what we need. If we need a fire extinguisher on, such and such a day at whatever time, it's all part of the bid, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's not to say that the current vendor they're using right now may not come in with a better bid. I mean, obviously, everybody knows what the line in the sand number is, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't hurt anything, right, Chief?
Certainly do it.
If we don't like the number, then you stay with what you got, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the public? Sure, Councilman Corley. Batteries are expensive, Councilman Qualley, so let's make the best use out of them.
And looking, the bid ran out June 30th of 2018, correct?
Correct.
So I'm assuming we haven't had the need for any extinguisher maintenance and repair since June 30th? The last repair we had was 6/19 under the old bid. Okay. Well, it's good, I guess, that something didn't break after the bid had run out. But a question I have is the state bid says it goes through, it's 3 years, not 2 years. It goes through 2021. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out the dollar amount because I'm looking at the purchase agreement and I don't know where the figure of $2,400 comes from because it is, I'm assuming that is an annual award, and I don't know, it's not on any of these documents except in the letter that we received that we're seeking a total not to exceed $2,400. There is the laundry list of prices that they have, and I don't know how that was interpreted to determine what it is that we need.
Sir, so it'd be $1,200 a year, not to exceed $1,200 a year. And for the past few years, that's what I'm going off here. In fiscal year 14, it was $984. 15 was $1,289. 16 was $1,097. Last year was $789. So it's just a good round number we can go with. It all depends on how often we use them.
Okay, well, I will have to defer to your expertise in that because I certainly don't have any. But it does say that this is for a 3-year period in the information that we have, and you're asking for 2 years. I don't know if that is intentional or not, or whether at the end of 2 years, you'll be back again saying we need to jump back onto this bid again. Do you understand?
I understand it was 3 years. We either go to 1 or 2 year bid, and I figured that's what you'd want to see.
Okay,
you want to give it for 3 years, I'll certainly take it, and I'll see you.
I'm just pointing out what I'm reading, and whatever the Finance Committee wishes to set for the parameters for the city, I am fine with. I just did not understand what I was reading, and I've expressed that, so I will leave it to the committee to deal with that information. Thank you.
I thank you, Councilman. Chief, Councilman just kind of got my brain working a little bit harder here. How much do you still have in your account right now for those?
I'm going to think. I want to say about $400 in there.
400?
That sounds about right, yeah.
And how much have you spent in the last year?
Last year we spent, we haven't prepared anything since 6/19, but basically $800.
How much?
800.
And this was a 2-year bid before?
Correct. No, well, we've been bouncing around on that bid because they've been extending this bid for like 4 months at a time. So we came before you a few times since January because they did it to the end of March, and then they did it to June, and so this is the first time they've gone this far.
So on this bid, this particular item for these fire extinguishers, you're saying you've got 400 left? Are you sure that number's a solid number?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say that's a solid number.
So here's what I'm getting at.
Because it was added to so many times.
Here's what I'm getting at. If we were to award you a 1-year extension on this with no monies involved, that would still allow you to use that same vendor. So that's where I'm going with this. You know, do you have enough money in that account to get you through the year?
I'm not sure of that. I don't have those numbers with me.
I'm sorry?
I don't have those numbers with me. But we only spend what we need. There's no need to have it serviced or exchange it. So if it's not used, we don't use it. The money's coming out of service contract, so it's just the amount on the award.
Okay. So then I think we'll stay with where we are, Chief, because you got $400 in the account, so if you need something, you still have some money to do it. And if we go out for a rebid on this, it's not going to cause you any problems or difficulties or anything, right?
No,
you're still okay.
We can do it.
I'm sorry?
I said we can do it. The rest of the city, I believe that the DPW uses this bid as well. So, you know, instead of bringing in another vendor.
So we'll test the waters for them too.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the public? Need a motion?
So we'll make a motion and put this out. Well, we'll do a bid because it's not a rebid, right? Because it's this is the piggy eye. So to just spec this out to see. Yeah. So I would do unfavorable action. Put out for.
So
we're
not going to have a bid in place at all, or do you want to do it for a year and then? Because by the time it comes back.
Well, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Don't have a bid at all.
Yeah, I don't want to short. That's my concern. I don't want to short.
We'd have to go for at least a year to have a bid in place.
Hold on, Chief. Yeah, I get it.
Presently, he has no bid in place. So if you go favorable action on this, you're committing him to this for whatever time frame. So he can't go out to bid while he's already under contract for this.
He cannot go out for bid when he's already under contract on this.
If you approve this and you're saying we're committing with this for whatever time frame you set.
Right, but if we don't, if we deny this,
then he has no bid in place. He has no authorization from you to make any expenditures.
So if he has a fire extinguisher problem, they can't do anything because they don't have any money.
That is correct, because his bid expired June 30th.
So what we could do is if we're looking to go out for a rebid at some point in time, we could give the fire department an extension 1 year. We can put $1,000 or whatever number you want on it so that they have revenue in addition to the 400 they have now. Matter of fact, you know what? You could extend this for 8. That'll give them 12. They're on a 2-year bid right now for 2,400, 12 a year. You can give him a 1-year extension for 800. He has 12 in the kitty right now, and he'll have his 1,200. And you'll be able to take care of whatever issues you have with the thought that when this contract is ready to expire, then we'll go out for bid. Good?
Okay.
So you're going to award it for 1 year, amend it to, for 1 year?
Yep.
And what would the amount be that you're going to allow him to spend?
800.
All right, let's do it not to exceed 1,200, okay?
Okay.
That'll be for a 1-year bid like you had with the 2, all right? That work for you, Chief?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't need a PCR to amend? We do, okay. PCR 14918. One who? Oh yeah, there's 149 right there. Sorry, thank you. Okay, 15018. We're going to amend to 1 year and not to exceed 1,200. Okay, everybody good?
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make a motion that PCR 150-18, I'm going to change the contract period from 2 years to a 1 year and not to exceed $1,200.
Okay, good. Thank you, Chief. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we are going to recommend favorable action on PCR 150-18 as amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. All right, item 1, PCR 146-18, resolution relative to bids. Item 2, PCO 37-16, an amendment to purchasing ordinance. And that is mine. I'm going to put that in the pending file. Actually, I'm going to move to withdraw that because when I docketed this amendment, this was, again, under the previous administration, and there were concerns that I had with some of the procedures, some of the policies or lack thereof. And again, I'm going to lean on the new direction that we have here from the corner office down to the city council. And I do not see a need for this right now because I'm quite sure in the corner office that's going to be addressed with any concerns that I have or had. So I'm moving to withdraw.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tax sale policies, procedures for collecting past due water sewer bills, not drafted. That's another item. Same reasons, same description, same position that this was something that was taken or docketed under the previous administration, and I was not too happy to see the former mayor taking credit for something that a tax sale committee that was formed by this city council, implemented by this city council, designed by this city council, and collected $4 million, didn't get any credit for. So the procedure is now going forward, once again, under Mayor Solomon, I'm quite sure that there's no need for this particular item, so I'm going to withdraw PCO 2-18.
Second. Oh, sorry. Councilman.
Got to be quick, Councilman Howell. Got to be quick. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
PCR 9417, State of Rhode Island Telecommunication Services and Installation. Is there anyone here from MIS? I'm not surprised. But I think we'll have... Sure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for joining us this evening, Mr. Mayor. Always pleasant to see you.
I'm always in contact with the city council and the city's business, as you know.
You know.
Whether it be in this room or downstairs in my office.
Sir.
So thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
I regret to inform you that as of 3:47 p.m. today, the MIS director has submitted his resignation that he intends to leave at the end of this week. So currently, the department is in transition. Unfortunately, I am unable to have someone here to answer the question. So from the administration's point of view, I respectfully request if you have any questions on the MIS issues, that you kindly postpone it till the next meeting, and hopefully we'll have something more concrete in place to address any questions that the Honorable Council has relative to that division and its purchases and activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm quite sure that we will absolutely see changes as well. Thank you, sir.
I'm proud to say there are good changes every day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. So let's just continue with what we've been doing. We've been holding this from meeting to meeting. So let's hold this till October 1st.
Motion to hold October 1.
Second.
We have a motion to hold. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. The same thing will hold true with PCR 14817.
Motion to hold October 1.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold till October 1. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
PCR 45-18, bid 28243, medical evaluations for the Warwick Fire Department. Chief, I believe we're going to be holding that, correct? Yes. Okay, we're going to hold till October 15th. Is that good? Okay. Need a motion to hold till October 15th.
Motion to hold October 15th, request of the sponsor.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. PCR 127-18, a resolution regarding the school department request for $6 million. Council President Marola. $6 million. PCR 127-18, a resolution regarding the school department request for a supplemental appropriation of $6,600,000 for the Warwick schools for 2019. Thank you for the clarification, Council President. What's your pleasure?
And that was, we're going to hold that till the next meeting.
That's correct. Okay, you want to hold till October 1st?
Yes.
All right, at the request of the Council President, need a motion to hold till October 1st.
Motion to hold until October 1st.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold till October 1st. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution relative to abatements. PCR 137-18. Sir.
Good evening. Neil Dupuy, Tax Assessor.
Go ahead, Neil.
Okay. At the last meeting, there were two issues that held the abatements. The first one being a munis calculation error. Okay. Upon further investigation, it was actually a clerical error that was caused from a clerk in my office that used the wrong assessment amount when she calculated a tax freeze. Okay. The reason why we thought it was a munis error is on the tax bill. It has the value and the tax rate, which didn't multiply out to the tax bill amount. So it did bring to light the fact that we need to modify our tax bill template to include a designation when a tax freeze is actually being applied. In this case, what we call a freeze should lower the tax bill. but it raised the tax bill by 2.5 times, so we didn't even think about that possible option. So we are working with Munis and also our tax bill vendor to make sure that when next year's tax bills go out, it will have the designation that tax freeze is being applied. But this issue directly was not a Munis error, it was a clerical error.
Neil, thank you for coming to the podium with that information, because at the last meeting, based upon information I received from your department, it was a Munis error, and obviously I wasn't pleased. So I do appreciate you coming to the podium and setting us straight as to what happened, and more importantly, that you have a plan in place to keep these type of things from occurring going forward. More importantly, that you have a plan in place and you have communication now with Munis so that they understand they work for us, we don't work for them. And I appreciate that conversation that we had earlier with your vision for dealing with a vendor. So, in addition to that, we have some other issues here.
Yes, there was also several abatements for the House of Hope. I have had communications with the House of Hope. We met individually, and we also had a few emails go back and forth. I still have some questions. There's still some open issues. The resolution was not well worded, number one, but also there's some questions that still exist as far as the tax status on some of their properties. So we're continuing to work through that. But before the council votes on that, I would like to hold them from this current abatement list and let me continue to work on that and give you good information to make that decision on. If you concur and you agree with that, the abatement amount would be revised to $30,777.11. That would keep the Munis calculation error in there because it's not really a Munis error. It would just pull out the House of Hope abatements.
So, Neil, I too have significant concerns with what's going on with that particular entity. You know, I don't know if, you know, the valve is ever going to be shut off on this thing. I don't know where the line in the sand is going to be drawn. And particularly concerning to me is information that I have received in the last several days with respect to issues involving this particular entity. And I need to follow up on that information that's been provided to me. I've requested some additional information, so I too, as you, have concerns with this. I also realize that it would be unfair to stop the process from the other individuals or companies that in fact are deserving of that abatement, and with particularly you clearing up that Munis issue. So I don't have a problem with pulling out the House of Hope, if you so choose, excuse me, and awarding the rest of the abatements. But before we make a motion on that, is there any, Councilman McAllister?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I also had a number of questions regarding the House of Hope, so I'm glad that we're pulling that out. And I think it is important that we move forward because the majority of these, now that the House of Hope is out, the majority of these abatements, these are for seniors, these are for veterans, stuff like that. So we want to make sure that these people get their exemptions. So I agree with the chairman, and we'll support that after we take questions.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Excuse me, any questions from members of the council? Yes, Councilman Gallucci.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you're going to have a PCR for the...
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Yes, I'm sorry. So we need a separate PCR for reference number 9717202018. 18007703. Councilman Gallucci is going to be abstaining because of a family relationship, Councilman, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Thank you for the reminder. So that'll be PCR 151. So PCR 15118 will be voted on separately on that particular exemption for Galucci, Raymond Jr., and Deborah T. Okay? So we have, yes, and then we're going to need to do a separate one for removing the House of Hope. That'll be PCR 152-18. Okay, so PCR 137-18 is actually broken up now into 3 parts, correct? We're going to have Part 1, which approves the abatements other than PCR 151 and 152. Correct?
Yes, the Galucci PC will be its own PCR.
Correct, and PCR 152-18. Okay. Okay, before we move for that action, I'd like to know if there's any questions from members of the public. Any questions? Sir?
You mentioned the House of Hope, and I recall, I believe last year there was a significant write-off regarding taxes that were supposedly going to be collected from the House of Hope, but then apparently we could not get access to that, so that was written off. I was wondering if what was approached today in terms of the House of Hope would impact that write-off that which occurred, I believe last year or the year before. I believe it was a couple $100,000 that we were expecting from them, and then all of a sudden it's not collectible. And
so before anybody speaks to that issue, Council President, if I recall, that abatement was done through executive session? Yes. Okay. So we will not be discussing anything with that previous abatement, all right? So I just want to be sure all of my colleagues are clear on that. Anything else, Mr. Dempsey?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's start off with coming up with some numbers. Anybody do the math? My brain's slow tonight with numbers. Counselor, the 8 abatements, how much?
Well, first off, we're going to take PCR 151, which is the pollution abatement for $138,000.
Okay, all right, we'll start with that. I need a motion on PCR 151-18, and the abatement amount is $138.40.
I'll make a motion to approve PCR 151-18 for the abatement amount of $138.40.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we need to do the math from 92,380 change minus 30,777 minus 138.40, and that'll give me the amount for the House of Hope abatement 152.18, which should be somewhere around 60,000, 61,000, somewhere thereabouts. Maybe 62. Yeah, 61. $61,510 add on 138, somewhere around 60. Yeah, okay.
I have $61,603.50.
I was close. I said 61,500 something.
That's without subtracting the 138, correct?
Neil, did you subtract the 138 out of that?
Not off of that number, that's
Okay.
just for the House of Hope
That's,
itself.
we need the net, yeah.
That's what we need to have on the other PCR. The net for the total for the month should be $30,633.71
It's 30,633.71
without the Galucci 138.40.
without?
Without.
Wait a
With that
minute.
abatement, it's $30,777.11.
You told us a moment ago that if we took out the House of Hope, the abatement was going to be 30,777.11.
Right.
Now, out of that, we're taking the 138.40 out of that, and that nets out to 30,633.71, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the net for the PCR 137.18 is going to be the 30,633.71.
Correct.
Okay. Counselor, you agree with that?
The 8 line items for House of Hope, I have that up to 47,157.35 cents.
47,157.35? Okay, so if we add up the 47,157.35, the 138.40, the 30,633.71, that's going to equal $92,380.61?
There's two properties that are really under the House of Hope that are showing up differently on the abatement report. One was under Fannie Mae, and one was under the Galen House, but they're all considered under the House of Hope.
That's where they're going to stay? Okay. We good? You gotta make me do this, huh? So am I. Yeah, I'm not coming up with that number.
There's a couple that are.
I'm coming up with $77,929 if we take out $47,157.35 for House of Hope. The House of Hope number is going to be more than that.
Total abatements for the month after we pull out House of Hope, and this is the one we'll pull out for the 2.
House of Hope should be like 61,608.
No, if you take that number, we take out 61,603.50. Because that was, again, including the Galen House and Fannie Mae property.
Okay, so that's the missing number.
Right.
This is what I have for House of Hope. This is
Yeah, on the list.
Neil?
They're showing what the tax roll owner was on that time when the list was.
Neil?
Good.
On Michael Ferraris, is that also part of, I'm sorry, Federal National Mortgage Association? That's part of House of Hope?
That's one of the
as well?
House of Hope properties, correct. That's just how it was listed on the tax roll for that time period.
Okay, well, when I run all the numbers, I'm coming up with totals for the House of Hope of 61,608.50.
I have 603.50, but yeah.
Say what?
I have 61,603.50, so we're up by $5.
Well, we're going to get to the bottom of that.
Actually, right after you'll tag.
Councilman McAllister said he's going to kick in the $5. I stand by 61,608.50.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Oh, no, wait a minute. You know what? So when you gave me the 30,633.71, that was the net after taking out the 138, correct?
Correct.
Okay. No, let's do it again. Yeah, 61,608.50. So I took the number $92,380.61. I deducted 30,633.71. I deducted 138.40, and that leaves me with a net of 61,608.50. Do we agree? with Brian when I need him. What are the numbers? 61,608.50. You're wrong. No, you go for it. Let's start out with, the total number, 92,000. 92,380.61. Start with that. That's the given. Back out 30,633.71. That's his number. That's his number. Minus 138.40. That we're sure of. That's the only number we're sure of so far. 138.40. That leaves a balance of 61,608.50. Yep, we ain't done that because he's an idea.
Yeah, that's going to go in there as well, because we're not going to do that. We're going to hold that one off. That was 35.52.40. 61,608.50. On that same property for the 2016 year, it's 33.71.98. Should be right below it.
I'm going by Neil's numbers at 30,633.71.
June have 33.71.98.
That's net of the 138.40. So the change is 138.40.
Names, one tax roll was under maybe the other one that was under the household.
So maybe there's somebody you're missing on House of Hope. Either way, you are wrong. Well, what we're going to do is also identify for House of Hope. House of Hope 75. Yep. That's, I believe, is the Galen house. It's a William Galen house. And if that's the case, then this number he gave me, 30,633, is off. So you're both wrong. You're both wrong. You and him. Oh, but I guess you're right. I'm going by the numbers that I have been presented with. Okay then, bright eyes. Give me this 30,633.71. Seeing as you're getting so glossy-eyed here, you might be right. Gentlemen, are we almost there?
page as well.
Gentlemen, I just noticed Brian is here. If you want his assistance, I'm sure he'll be happy to kick in. Brian?
I don't know if there's something with the thing. I'm pretty sure it's the 60. Yeah. She is well. So I can have you do my taxes for free by just saying.
I go by the numbers that I'm provided.
It's coming up with two different answers.
So I'm being provided numbers that are not accurate, and obviously the number is not going to be accurate. Okay, so listen here. So while we are negotiating numbers, let's move on to PCR 139-18, bid 2018-78, overhead door repairs and/or replacement. Who is speaking to that? That is found on page. I don't have it. It's on. It's in the book. Okay. PCR 139-18. Chief.
Is this thing on? Okay. As I was here before you last month, a couple weeks ago, for bid 2018-078 for overhead door. I was looking for a 612 alteration to bid. At the time, I was looking for $388,084. I sent some documents to the chairman and corrected that, so it's $355,084. I explained it in there that it was in there at the end of the bid, and the last price they took, they used the current bid hourly rate, not the previous one.
Excuse me, Chief. If anyone would like to have a conversation, please take it out into the library and to the lobby, please. Go ahead. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, sorry about that. So that $355.84 would bring that total bid award to $13,355.84. It come out of budget code 35340, and there's currently $55,170.55 in that budget. That will end that bid.
Okay, Chief. Thank you. Thank you for going through the efforts. It might seem that it was a lot of effort for a minimal amount of money, but we needed to clarify that. And again, to go to the points earlier, where what was presented to us was a labor number that was higher than what it should have been.
Correct.
And fortunately, this Finance Committee picked up on that. This time, in this particular item, it wasn't significant, and we also didn't have those discounts showing off the list prices.
Right.
So thank you for doing that. I'm good with this. I don't have any other questions. Any questions from members of the committee, members of the council, members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion.
Seconded.
Okay, but we got to do this as amended. So PCR one, oh, it's already PCR, so we're just going to do it as amended. What?
You're just going to vote favorable on it, it's already amended.
No, we're
we have to
not,
make
because the amount's changed. So Chief, tell me what the revised amount is again, please?
$355.84.
$355.84. Okay, so I need a motion for favorable action on PCR 13918. First, I need it on the amendment to change the number 355.84.
Make a motion to amend this to $355.84.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion for favorable action as amended on PCR 13918.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for that effort. Okay, that one's done. Now, have the numbers folks caught up to us yet? Not yet? Okay, so we'll go on to another one. I just see if they had an opportunity to catch up to us. PCR 142B-18.
Hello, Matthew Salitro, Department of Public Works. This came before you the last session. There was a question about the Allison transmission fluid and why the differential between that and another oil, and why we chose to go with the Allison transmission fluid. You were provided with the documentation and the warranty information. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yes, Matt, I agree. I don't know about my colleagues on the council, on the committee. I was provided the information on Friday afternoon is when I received it. Had a lot of stuff going on with this bid package, et cetera. I received 38 pages of stuff. I have not had an opportunity to review it, so I don't know if I have any questions on it, agree with it, or disagree with it.
Okay.
So I'm going to look to hold this until the next meeting, until... Did you gentlemen receive anything on that?
Actually, no, I was going to reach over to you, Mr. Chairman, and say I didn't see anything on that, so I'd like to review it as well, please.
Okay, Matt, I can't remember if I had also requested that my colleagues receive these documents, but obviously they have not. So I would like to just make sure that these documents are forwarded to them, if you would, please. And like I say, we'll go through it. I want to take a look at what the manufacturer has to say, and we're going to hold till October 1st. We have a motion.
Motion to hold to October 1.
We have a motion to hold. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yes. Sure.
When documentation is sent to you, if that department head could also send it to me so we could put it in the bid file. So next year, if we're looking at this bid, if it's an annual bid and the question arises, I would have that information. So anytime information is sent to the committee, if a copy could go to purchasing, it would be very helpful for the future.
Sure. And I'm quite confident that this new leadership team has no problem with that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pat. Okay, so...
Can we put a pause on this committee and just go to the other committees while we wait?
Are our numbers, folks, done? I don't know if I want to stop another committee. Okay, so while we are waiting, we'll go to the next committee. Councilman Howe.
The time is 7:15 p.m. and we're opening the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. First for acceptance of the, may I have a motion to accept the minutes from the committee meeting held on September 5th?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 1, PCO 3-18, Rocky Point Ordinance to protect the rights of private property owners. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold October 15th.
Hold until October 15th.
Second.
We have a motion to hold till October 15th. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The time is now 7:15 p.m. and Health, Education, and Welfare is closed.
That's how you run a committee.
That's how you. It looks like they might be done.
Well, I hope you folks enjoy your little giggles. You just go right for it.
They're ready.
All right, so we are ready. Do we have the numbers? And, hold on 1 minute, let me get back to the abatements. So, we are going to start with what is the net amount of the abatement minus those.
The original amount listed was for $92,380.61.
Correct.
We have amended out already and voted separately the PCR 15118, which is the Galucci abatement.
Correct.
In the amount of $138.40. As it pertains to PCR 15218, which is related to the House of Hope properties, the new amount for that PCR is going to be $61,603.50, which then would, and that would be in order, and then we can come back to the final amount.
Okay, so I want to put the final amount right now. So that's going to change the final amount by $5.
PCR 13718 would be in the amount of $30,638.71.
We have PCR 151, $138.40. We have PCR 152, $61,603.50. Correct? Okay. I'm good. Okay, let's take PCR 15118.
We did that.
Sorry? Okay, that's all set. 15218 amended to pull out the House of Hope for the amended amount of $61,603.50. Need a motion?
We're going to hold that, right? Yeah. So I'm going to make a motion to hold.
Correct.
PCR 152-18, which is the House of Hope, in the total amount of $61,603.50.
Seconded.
And you're holding till when? Sorry?
We haven't decided how long we need.
Well, we got a motion to hold.
Yeah, so we'll hold it until the second meeting in October.
October 15th. Okay. All right, and now we have, we're back to PCR 137-18. Okay, we have a motion on the amendment, been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moved as amended on 152-18, hold till October 15th. We have a motion to hold. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. 137-18, we have an amendment to grant the abatements in the amount of $30,638.71.
Okay. So favorable action on the amount of $30,638.71, PCR 139-18.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Neil, if you would be so kind as to email to the members of the committee as well as the council exactly the items that have been included in the House of Hope amendment of $61,603.50. I just want to make sure that myself, as well as all my colleagues, are on the same page as to what we're actually holding. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's it. I need a motion to adjourn.
Happily make the motion to adjourn at 7:21.
What's that supposed to mean?
Happily second it.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
We already went. Oh, I'm sorry, what?
What date do we hold that to?
Oh, it's the 15th. says, oh, no, you're right.
Ordinance and public safety.
We're going to start the ordinance committee in about a minute. Councilman Lattiser, Councilman Corley. Thank you.
Public safety. Council President's going to make it a hard time.
All set? The time is 7:27 p.m. This is the Ordinance Committee. Acceptance of the, I have a motion for acceptance of the minutes for the committee meeting held on September 5th.
Make a motion to accept.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 1, PCO 19-18, ordinance in regards to working without a building permit. Councilman Lattiser. This is not drafted.
No, it's not drafted. Hold till October. Let's go try for October 1st.
Motion to hold till October 1st.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 7:27. The Ordinance Committee is closed. Thank you.
Public safety is now open at 7:28. Can I have a motion to accept minutes from the September 5th meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
First, we have PCR 123-18, the resolutions in regards to a three-way stop sign at Bell and Narragansett Bay Avenue. This is Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Move favorable action.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for favorable action. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion, what time? 7:29, motion to close. Thank you.
Intergovernmental. Yeah, we're going to keep the same for now.
No, I think that's next month.
No. Intergovernmental.
I don't think there's anything else. Where you going? Let's go. Oh, good.
You all done?
I don't think there's any more.
You read them all?
What's he doing? Oh, there's intergovernmental.
That's mine. I call intergovernmental at, what time is it? 7:31. Can I get an acceptance of the minutes for the committee held on September 5th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We have one PCR 132-18, a resolution in regards to the 2019 Warwick City Council calendar. This was docketed by Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action.
Mr. Chair, I had one comment, if I could.
Sure.
I noticed that we're going to have a meeting Monday, January 7th, which is a few days after inauguration, and we'll obviously have one new member on, and I'm trying to figure out with the holiday schedule if it would be better, as I was thinking about it today, to maybe have that meeting on that Wednesday rather than the Monday after the inauguration week, just to give it some time to settle in. And I didn't know if anybody had an objection to that, so we could amend it.
I have no objection, Mr. President.
Okay. I would request that we just make it an amendment so that it would be, I believe that's, somebody's got a calendar in front of them, I believe that's Wednesday, January 9th instead of Monday, January 7th. So I just asked for that amendment.
Mr. Chairman, at the request of the Council President, I would move to amend the Council calendar for the first meeting in January to take place on January 9th. The rest of the calendar will go as stated.
We just want to make sure. So we have a suggestion to the committee to move the first meeting, which is right now scheduled for January 7th, to that Wednesday, January 9th.
Move that we amend the calendar to have the first meeting be Wednesday, January 9, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. And then can I have a motion to move as amended?
Yes, I would move to adopt the calendar as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Intergovernmental is closed at 7:33.
too long. Totally my fault. Jinxed us. Yeah, I called. Those are the youngest ones. I know. That's my fault.
I gotta go feed the cats. What's everywhere?
Yeah. Let's get going now. Time is money. Gotta get
How did that kid do?
Good. Yep.
The council come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Here.
Mr. Qualley? Mr. Galucci?
Here.
Mr. Howe? Here. Mr. Lattiser?
Here.
Mr. McAllister?
Here.
Mr. Ricks?
Here.
Ms. Travis?
Here.
Present.
If Councilman Corley could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Everybody can be seated. Under executive communications, there are none. Under general communications, I had a few announcements. First of all, last Wednesday was primary day. I know it was pouring rain, and many of us were standing out in the pouring rain. I'd like to congratulate everyone that won, and also thank everybody that took the time to run for an office. It's what makes democracy strong when you have diverse opinions and you have people advocating for different causes. Also, I'd like to congratulate my colleague, Councilman Solomon, for a well-fought victory, and congratulate him on taking over a city with over a $300 million budget when he had no idea he'd be running for the office in May, and for him to drop everything for the city, including his own businesses and the time away from his family. I'd like to thank him for the job that he's done for us so far. It's the first time I've seen an abrupt ending like that since obviously Mayor Chafee left to become a senator. But even then, it wasn't a situation where a person had 2 or 3 weeks to get ready for a $300 million budget. So I'd like to congratulate him. Also, by virtue of the fact that there was a primary in Ward 8 with no general election, I'd like to welcome our newly elected councilman, Anthony Sinapi from Ward 8, and ask him to take a seat in my chair, and hopefully you can get some tutelage from Councilman Gallucci, who's probably been around the longest, and can get up to speed for the January hearings. And congratulations, Anthony. Also, I'd like to thank the administration and all my colleagues and many members of the public for helping me put on a movie night in my area. We had over 200 people attend with food trucks, and it was last Friday, and it was just a nice event that was non-political, just to get the community together. And last year I hosted it with Mayor Abedisian, and this year I was honored to host it with Mayor Solomon, and several of my colleagues were able to attend from the council, which I very much appreciated, all the support from everyone. So it was a great night, and I just wanted to thank everybody. The last item under general communications I wanted to address was the fact that the school committee budget, which came before us in May, the beginning of June, and there's been a great debate as to whether the city has provided the schools with enough resources. So not to rehash what has happened in the past, but you'll recall that when Mayor Solomon received the budget from Mayor Abedisian, the school department was given no increase in their budget. It was this council that advocated for, and Mayor Solomon that also agreed to give the school department $1.5 million more than Mayor Avedisian sought to give them. We've, since that point, I know the school department's been striving to look at ways to stay within a budget that squeezes every department in the city and the school department. Obviously, we're limited by state law to raise approximately $5.8 million a year in revenue. The school department's request, just for their side of the budget, was $8.1 million. And I'd like to compliment all my colleagues in the administration for asking the questions that they did. That $8.1 million, I think, is down to about $5.3. And that's below the cap, but doesn't consider any increases on the city side of the budget. And we have 3 collective bargaining agreements that have recently been ratified, and a 4th that is in limbo. And I'm personally concerned about services for the school department and also our ability to pay. Nothing worse than saying, yes, you can have X dollars, and then the following year not be able to meet payroll and not be able to fix roads and provide services such as electricity or tires or vehicles. It's not a responsible place to be. On the same token, we also listened very intensely to their presentation a few months before that indicated that the school department buildings were in much needed repair. And thanks to the initiative of this council, we approved, which is a bond referendum that will be on the ballot for this fall of, I believe it's over $40 million for the schools. So a lot gets lost in debating individual positions on small issues. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the big picture as to what the council has and will continue to do for the school department and our kids. With that being said, the school department, I think it was about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, completed an audit. You'll recall that we were supposed to hear a presentation in August. They had asked, it sent an email to me asking that it be put on the next available agenda, which I immediately did, which I think was August 15th, if I'm not mistaken, or August 20th. And they had asked for additional time to complete their audit, which we indulged and continued it to today. On the flip side, we've only had about 10 days to 2 weeks to review it and give it to our accountants for review. And so we entered into a joint release today, myself and also the school committee chair, agreeing that postponement is in the best interest of everyone, because the school committee and the mayor, and I've also committed to a meeting September 24th, which I believe is next Monday, to discuss all these issues with regard to the audit and to where the school department is now. You'll recall they were at 8.1, and now I think they're around 5.3 million additional for this fiscal year. So we've agreed, and they've agreed to postpone their presentation to October 1st to give us an opportunity to talk about those issues. And as I've said to my colleagues and many members of the public, the issues that are before the city and the school committee are not only the budget for this fiscal year, but maintenance of effort for next fiscal year. It's great to say that everybody can get everything that they need. But we're constrained by caps, by the law, and we're in a tough situation to balance budgets not only for this fiscal year, for next, and the year after that, especially when you consider there's been 3 collective bargaining unit agreements that have pay increases the next 3 years. We have to heat buildings. We have to provide services. So this is one of the worst. I know Councilwoman Travis has been a long time too. I don't think any of us, and Councilman Gallucci and all the council members, but I've never seen it be this significant. I don't want to use the word bad because that gives a negative connotation, but I've never seen such significant issues financially facing the city. I can remember, I believe it was around 2010 or 2012 that the actuaries came before the city council and told us that at some point in time we'd really hit a wall as to how much we could raise in revenue and to also pay for unfunded liabilities such as health care and pensions. Some pensions are better funded than others, and health care is completely unfunded. And that's going up. Health care is going up, I think. The unfunded liability on health care is going up $1 million a year, and we're paying that out of our general fund. So if you can raise $5.8 million and you're getting hit with increases, not to mention that this year, in order to balance the budget and to keep us under a maximum tax increase, we took money out of the reserve. So next year we'll have a $3.8 million structural deficit. So in order for us to raise the revenue that we need to just balance the budget with no increases for next year, we have to raise $3.8 million. Leaves us about $2 million for raises for 3 collective bargaining units, and I think inflation's running at 2 or 3% on commodities and goods and other services. So, as I said to Councilwoman Travis a minute ago, I don't think that I've seen it this significant a burden to the city and the ability to balance things. So, I'm taking an optimistic approach that hopefully we can reach a consensus next Monday. I appreciate the cooperation extended by the school committee and also the mayor. I believe we're moving in the right direction. And as I said, that presentation from the school committee regarding their audit will be continued to October 1st by agreement of all the parties. With that said, we are under general communications in the docket. Is there anybody else that would have anything to say? Councilman Gallucci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to welcome Councilman-elect Anthony Sinapi, which will be official come November 6th. I've offered my congratulations privately to Anthony, and I want to do that publicly. and I've offered any assistance or questions and anything I can do to assist Anthony in this new venture. Welcome, Anthony. Best of luck. I'm here to assist you in helping you and voting for you on November 6th. Congratulations.
Yes, Councilman Ricks.
I would also like to join in welcoming Anthony Sinapi, observing here on the council. We've known each other for quite a while, going back to our first year of law school and then graduating together from Roger Williams. And I didn't think that it would be quite so soon that I would become the second youngest member of the council, but as of having no opponent, as of, I suppose, January 2019, Anthony is slated to become the youngest council member elected since council member Avadishan, who eventually went on to become mayor, as we all know.
Yes, Councilman Corley has had his hand up first.
I join in the congratulations to Anthony Sinapi as new councilman-elect, and I also want to congratulate all the other members of the council that are council members-elect, except for myself, that has a general election and a seat in Ward 4 to take the spot. I wouldn't say replace, because it's not going to be able to replace Councilman Solomon, now Mayor Solomon, and I want to extend my congratulations to him on his victory in the primary, and we will be working hard in Ward 1. He will be working hard throughout the city, and I hope I can see some fellow council members as I am working towards the general election. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, would like to congratulate Anthony on his win. That's pretty exciting. And on another note, to capture on what Councilman Rick said, that he is the second youngest member of the City Council. What I find depressing is I just realized I will be the oldest member of the City Council. Well, thank you, Councilman Gallucci.
Okay, any other Councilwoman Travis?
Yeah, I also just want to congratulate Anthony. He worked really hard. He worked hard for what he wanted, and I'm welcoming the board. I look forward to working with you, Anthony. Congratulations.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. As I said before, the presentation of the school committee is continued to October 1st. Under Rule 41, and it looks like we have 4 people signed up. I'll just read the rules for those four people. After the general communications and prior to the consent calendar, at each City Council public hearing meeting, there shall be a 15-minute period during which citizens may comment about Warwick city government issues subject to the following stipulations. The total period of time for public comment shall be 15 minutes. Comments need to be brief in order to allow as many citizens as possible to participate. The topics for comment shall be issues directly affecting city government. City council members will not respond to questions during the public comment period. The public comment session will terminate at the expiration of 15 minutes. Waiver of this provision requires unanimous consent. So with that said, the first person on the sign-up sheet is Roy Dempsey. And it's about 4 minutes you'll have, Roy, and the clerk will let you know.
I want to make it brief and possibly light, but in terms of all the news that's going around. But some good news, my streets did get swept for the first time in 3 years. I thought that was pretty good, seeing a street sweeper coming by. Secondly, I saw it, I met tonight Matt Salitro, and I heard that he was now taking up the DPW post, at least on a temporary basis. And I know Matt from when he did the project in Ward 1, the sewer project, and I found him to be, my meetings with him, and there was quite a few meetings with him, I found him to be a very capable person, very professional. What he did, and the communication, were good with the community, and hopefully he'll work out. From what I know of him, I think he should be. I'm happy for him and glad for your giving him consideration. And lastly, did any of you notice the YouTube video of the Warwick Police Department in a karaoke? Was that fantastic or what? I mean, you got to give those guys some credit. And I think, and I've seen a few of them now because they had to go back and really screen what was done. But so far, I think Warwick is at the top. I think there's a lot of talent there. I guess it's not in the policing, but in what they showed. But I mean, it was very well, and showed Warwick up to be, showed the Warwick community as being very well complimented by the Warwick Police Department. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rob Cody, and the clerk will again keep the time.
Rob Cody, Ward 7. Some of you may have heard the rumor that occasionally I have been a critic of city finances. Really not sure how true that is, but I'm also someone who will come to the microphone and give credit where credit's due. So I was sitting down writing a construction report this evening, and I was watching the Finance Committee, and I felt the need to come here tonight, although I had no plans on doing it. I just wanted to make a couple comments about the Thayer Arena and the Mickey Stevens Sports Complex, McDermott Pool. At the end of the month, I'll have been a resident of Warwick for 59 years, and I grew up in those facilities. I got thrown out of those facilities by Clyde Gray for throwing ice balls and stealing hats, and the place has been spotless since I was a kid. I ran a business through those facilities. I rented both of those facilities for many, many years through Clyde Gray and Bobby Anderson and Bobby Murnick and several other management individuals in between them, and the current facilities manager, Jim Dorney. And one thing that facility is known for throughout the tri-state area is it is spotless. And if any of you have ever played hockey, as I did through my youth, Thayer Arena was known for the best ice, right? If you had good ice, you were there. And you can't buy ice time in Thayer Arena with gold bars. That's how good that facility is. And I watched this evening during the Finance Committee that the facilities manager was degraded and disparaged, which I was highly offended for. Now, I've come before you, and I consider several of you, most of you, all of you my friends, and from time to time during my criticisms, several of you have taken me aside and counseled me, for lack of a better word, and given me advice on how to soften my message. And sometimes you have even told me certain adjectives might not be the most favorable to be used in public. And I've taken that criticism to heart because I genuinely respect all of you, and you're very intelligent people, so I honor that criticism. Tonight I was very offended when I heard certain adjectives that were used to disparage the current facilities manager. Now, whether you may think you have had cause or not to castigate this individual because of a mechanical failure, what I do find interesting, disturbing, and actually the adjective that I would use would be calculated, that this individual was critiqued this evening and he wasn't here to defend himself. I don't know how that happens. So if anybody in this council had questions for the manager of that facility pertaining to a very technical mechanical failure, which resulted in a couple of $1,000s worth of monies that we didn't expect, I would think out of respect for the individual and his dedicated service to this community for decades, that he would have been allowed an appropriate amount of time to talk about that. And that didn't happen. Now, I know that individual's been here for almost 30 years. The new guy's been here for 4 weeks. The new guy disparaged him. I think that was inappropriate. And I think that that individual deserves an apology from everybody. Because to this date, anytime I have walked in that facility, it is spotless, it is filled with audience, and when you leave there after a hockey game, championship game, whatever, that facility is spotless 10 minutes later, and I think that individual deserves a round of applause and a round of respect for the excellent work that he has done for this community, and I'd like to thank him personally.
Thank you. Next up is Tracy McDermott.
Good evening. Tracy McDermott, Wise Union member, taxpayer, voter. While I'm disappointed that you did not have the audit presentation tonight, I am glad to hear and glad that you, Councilman Marola especially, are hopeful that your meetings next week and moving forward, you may be able to come to some sort of resolution with the school department. For the next 2 weeks, please read every detail of the audit, look it over, and understand that while the $8 million was an ask for this year, this has literally been 12 to 15 years of level funding, underfunding that has caught up with us. That's what this is about. This isn't just brand new, they spent like crazy, and are asking for too much. This has been 15 years of a buildup of underfunding. These are 70, 80-year-old school buildings that have been patched for years. We had a $25 million bond that was frozen, which meant it was patched and patched and patched since 2006. So this is a buildup. This is not something new. So, you know, it may sound critical. I'm just saying, moving forward, we have got to find a way to work together. You've got to understand that while numbers may go down in the last 2 years, the cost per student has also gone down with consolidation. And you need to understand the daily effect on students, not only staff members, but today was the first day that the sharing of jobs for our 15 custodial staff that were cut started. That means we're now in the 3rd week of school. There are no after-school programs at any elementary school in the city right now. There can't be. Because right now, there's only a custodian in the building after 2 o'clock in half the buildings for half the week. That cost would have to go on to PTAs and PTOs to run an after-school program, whether it be art, robotics, languages, you know, math clubs, dance, theater, you name it. Programs across the city for elementary school, done. They are not happening. You need to also understand that in 2 months, the snow will fall. And in half of our elementary schools, we will only have 1 custodian in the building to shovel and plow those buildings. There's just not enough staff. You need to also understand, we're already done bumping 10.5 positions in clerical, 4 of which are library aides who directly affect research, library access to students, every student in the secondary schools. Every Chromebook that is used by every secondary student, there are thousands of them. When they crash and they have trouble getting on the internet or researching, it's the library aides in each of the schools that do that. We have techs for the district, there are 5 of them. They don't work with students. The library aides do. We have a grant and curriculum staff member in special ed. Federal grants, that's all she works on. That job was cut. So understand the effects on children when you take the next 2 weeks to go over that audit. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker is Joanne Schofield.
Good evening. Joanne Schofield, President and CEO of Mentor Rhode Island, Warwick taxpayer, and I was born in this city. So everything about this city is very special to me. But what I am here to remind you all of is the Warwick Mentor Program that did get cut in the last round of budget cuts by the school committee. And while I know that you cannot control how the school committee delegates the money, I am asking for you in good faith to move forward and give us the opportunity to serve our children the way they deserve to be served. Currently, we have launched the programs in several of the schools. We're doing it slowly and deliberately, and we've launched our own fundraising campaign to try to meet payroll. As you were speaking, President, I empathize with not being able to make payroll and worrying about cuts because it's detrimental to our agency. That being said, to me, it is more important to service the kids that have been let down by others than to let them down and not be able to sleep at night because we've done so. So we do move cautiously ahead with the program. Unfortunately, as more mentors step up and want to volunteer, we're not able to match them in Warwick, so we are referring them to other programs. West Warwick, as of next week, will have an additional 5 mentors for their students. We won't have additional mentors for our students. So as you proceed, just please remember the Warwick Mentor Program. Remember that the kids are what's important here. They're our future. They're our future voters, our future council people. Maybe one of those will be the next youngest councilman or councilwoman to serve the community. And again, just please remember that it takes money to do things. The kids need their mentors. They're looking forward to seeing them, and we want to be able to continue the program into the future. It's the only way we're going to make a difference for our young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is announcement of appointments. There are none. Appointments requiring confirmation. There are none. We'll move to the consent calendar. That's PCR 14618, a resolution relative to bids. Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action on PCR 146-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe and Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
2014-274, Fire Protection Engineering Services has become PCR 147-18. 2018-133, Traffic Street and Pole Light Maintenance, favorable action. 2019-135, Refrigerant Thayer Arena, favorable action. 2019-136, Recruit Psychological Evaluations, favorable action. 2019-139, Code Red Notification, favorable action. 2019-140 has become PCR 148-18. 2019-141 repairs has become PCR 149-18. 2019-133 State of Rhode Island fire extinguisher maintenance becomes PCR 150-18. And that is the bid package.
Okay. Is there any questions on the consent calendar? Finance consent calendar. I know we spent over 2 hours going over it with comments from the public earlier. I don't believe there are any public safety issues either. So if there are no questions on the consent calendar, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Okay, the consent calendar passes. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business is PCO 3716, an amendment to the purchase. Oh, there was one item that was removed, I'm sorry. 4 items that were removed. Apologize. First item on the agenda, Mr. Finance Chair, if you could move it.
That'd be PCR 14718, formerly 2014-274, hold until November 14th.
Hold until November 14th.
PCR 148-18, 2019 diesel fuel, hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st.
2019-141 is now PCR 149-18, hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st.
PCR 150-18, previously 2019-133, has been amended, so I would move for favorable as amended.
Okay.
With the
it's been moved for favorable. If you could move it, and we'll get a second.
The amendment would be to reduce the term to 1 year, not to exceed $1,200.
Okay, before we move the amendment, why don't we move the PCR first, and then we'll get a second on that, and then we can move the amendment.
Just move favorable action on PCR 150-18.
We have a second from Councilman Howe and Councilman McAllister and Councilwoman Travis. Go ahead, Councilman, with the amendment.
The amendment is to reduce the term to 1 year, not to exceed $1,200, and move favorable action as amended.
Okay, do I have a second? Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on the amendment? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
If you could move it as amended, Councilman.
Move favorable action on PCR 150-18 as amended.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion as amended? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
That stands passed. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, PCO 3716, an amendment to the purchasing ordinance, committee report, finance.
Made a motion to withdraw.
Motion to withdraw, seconded by Councilman Howe. Is there any discussion on the motion to withdraw? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Stands passed to withdraw. The next item on the agenda is PCO 2-18, tax sale policies and procedures for collecting past due water/sewer bills, committee report, finance.
Motion to withdraw.
Motion to withdraw. Do I have a second from Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister? Any discussion on the motion to withdraw? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCO 2-18 stands withdrawn. Next item on the agenda is PCO 3-18, Rocky Point Ordinance to protect the rights of private property owners. Committee report, health, education, and welfare.
Hold until October 15th.
Hold till October 15th. Next item on the agenda is PCO 19-18, an ordinance in regards to working without a building permit. Committee report, ordinance.
Hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 94-17, bid number 2017-147, State of Rhode Island, telecommunication services and installation and parts. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 14817, bid number 2018-143, installation of sprinklers at the Cooper Building. Committee report, finance.
Hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 4518, bid number 2018-243, medical evaluations for the Warwick Fire Department. Committee report, finance.
Hold till October 15th.
Held till October 15th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 12318, resolution in regards to a three-way stop at Bell and Narragansett Bay Avenue. Committee report, public safety.
Favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman Lattisaw.
Move favorable action on PCR 123-18.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister, and Councilwoman Travis. Any discussion on the resolution regarding a three-way stop sign at the intersection at Bell and Narragansett Bay Avenue? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattisaw?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCR 12318 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 12718, a resolution regarding the school department request for a supplemental appropriation of $6,600,000 for the Warwick schools for the 2019 fiscal year. Committee report, finance.
Hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13218, a resolution in regards to the 2019 Warwick City Council calendar. Committee report, intergovernmental.
Favorable action with amendment.
Favorable action. For favorable action, Councilman McAllister.
Move for favorable action.
So I have a second. Seconded by Councilman Lattisaw and Councilman Corley. You're going to move an amendment, Councilman McAllister?
Yes. We would like to change the date of the first meeting in January to Wednesday, January 9th.
So that's your motion to amend. Do I have a second? Councilman Corley. Any discussion on the motion, and Councilman Lattisaw, any discussion on the motion to amend it to Wednesday, January 9th due to the swearing in? If not, the clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattisaw?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Amendment stands passed. Councilman McAllister, if you could move it as amended.
I move favorable action as amended.
Seconded by Councilman Lattisaw. Any discussion as amended on the calendar? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattisaw?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
And Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCR 13218 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 13718, a resolution relative to abatements. Committee report, finance.
Favorable action with amendments. 3 of them.
Okay, for action, Councilman Lattisaw.
Move favorable action with amendments.
Seconded by Councilman Howe and Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman.
Okay.
Are you going to move it, an amendment?
I'm going to put the amendments out there.
Okay, and then we'll get a second.
So we have, the first amendment is PCR 151-18. That is to pull that out, to award that abatement in the amount of $138.40. We have PCR 152-18, and that is amended to remove the House of Hope items in the amount of $61,603.50, which was held until October 15th. And on 137.18, that amount is amended to $30,638.71, and that was favorable action on that item.
Okay, so that's 3 parts to the amendment. Okay, so you stated those. Could I have a second on the amendment? Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Councilman Corley.
The First Amendment, can we have the abatement that's being identified? I believed it was Ferrucci, but that's from my memory.
Yes, if I may, Mr. President.
Yes.
So, Councilman Qualley, Councilman Gallucci is going to be abstaining on that for a conflict, and that's why we put it on the PCR.
Very good. Anything else on discussion? Okay. Clerk will call the roll on the amendment. On the amendment, right.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Abstain.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
Okay, the amendment stands passed. Councilman Lasser, if you can move it as amended.
Move favorable action on PCR 151-18 as amended.
The item you're currently voting on is 137-18 as amended.
If you want to go to that one first, it's fine with me.
Well, that's the one that, the amendment reduced the amount of that resolution and created 2 new resolutions with separate numbers.
Okay, fine.
So the one that's been amended is the 137-18, and now you're voting on that as amended.
All right, Mr. President, I move favorable action on PCR 137-18 as amended.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion?
Just a question of the solicitor. I abstain on that.
That's the one you're, no?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
He's going to abstain on PCR 151-18 that I started to move a minute ago.
Okay, so this one you can vote on.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
So PCR 137-18 as amended stands passed. So we have PCR 151-18, and I'll defer to Councilman Lattiser for a recommendation on 151.
Move favorable action on PCR 151-18.
So seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe. Any discussion on PCR 151-18? This is the one that Councilman Gallucci is going to abstain on. That's why we removed it. Okay. And Councilman Qualley.
And the limited amount that we are voting on?
$138.40.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have to dot the i's and cross the t's.
Correct.
All right. Very good. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Qualley?
Yes.
Mr. Gallucci abstain?
Abstain.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes.
Okay. PCR.
7 yes.
Okay. PCR 151-18 stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 139-18, bid number 2018-78.
No.
No, we didn't vote on 152.
152.
I'm sorry, 152.
No, wait, 52, I'm sorry.
152, move favorable as amended, I'm sorry, to hold till October 15th.
Okay, held till October 15th. We've run through the three that came out of that. Okay. So now we're back to our agenda, our printed agenda. This is number 12 on unfinished business. PCR 139-18, bid number 2018-78, overhead door repairs and or replacement. Committee report, finance.
Favorable with an amendment.
Okay, for action, Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable on PCR 139-18 with an amendment.
It was seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Go ahead, Councilman Lattiser.
The amendment will be to reduce the amount of the award to $355.84.
Okay, is there a second? Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Discussion, Councilman, as to the reduction? No?
There was a calculation error made. The fire department had researched into it a little deeper, And what they were able to find out was that the vendor had mistakenly used the new bid award in the hourly rate. It was a very close proximity in time. So through communication with the fire department and the vendor, they were able to realize that discrepancy had occurred, and that resulted in a savings. It wasn't so much about the dollar issues, it was about the procedure. And in addition to that, the fire department had also requested to provide us with the discount off the list price of the items, which they did.
So thank you to the Finance Committee for recognizing that and applying the correct rate. And even though it's a small savings, I'd like to thank you folks because you really look into these things, and when we have a future expenditure that's large and we're applying the wrong rate for future bids rather than the rate that we had for old bids, it could be more significant, and it also puts department heads on notice that they need to check that. So is there any discussion on this? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
On the amendment?
On the amendment.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
Amendment stands passed. Councilman Lattiser, if you could move that as amended.
Move favorable as amended.
We have a second from Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on this as amended? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola?
Yes.
Mr. Cawley?
Yes.
Mr. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Travis?
Yes.
That's 8 yes.
PCR 13918 as amended stands passed. Next item on the agenda is PCR 142B-18 sub A, bid 2019-085, motor oil, hydraulic and transmission fluids, chassis, grease, and gear lube. Committee report, Finance.
Hold till October 1st.
Hold till October 1st. For referral and advertising, PCO 2318, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Warwick, Belcastle Realty petition, and that will go out for referral and advertising. We'll move to unanimous consent. Ward 1?
Pass.
Ward 2?
Pass.
Ward 3? Pass. Ward 5?
Pass.
Ward 6?
Pass.
Ward 7?
Pass.
Ward 8?
Pass.
Ward 9 passes. For action, Councilman Galucci.
Move to adjourn to the docket session.
Councilman Galucci moves to adjourn to the docket session. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Move to the docket session. Ward 1.
Pass.
Ward 2.
One item. A resolution requesting that the Department of Public Works study abandonment of a portion of K Street.
Intergovernmental. Intergovernmental. Ward 3. Pass. Ward 5.
Pass.
Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7.
Pass.
Ward 8.
Pass.
And Ward 9 passes. Council stands in adjournment. Have a good evening.